Coming up on the show, mosquito traps in Fulton County have tested positive for West Nile virus, prompting targeted spraying and urgent reminders about how to protect yourself. Plus, jobless claims are trending down, but hiring is cooling across the board. What it means for Georgia workers and why the Fed may hold off on rate cuts. And Atlanta's trail system is about to get a serious upgrade. How the city's boldest outdoor plan yet could help fight stress, build transit gaps, and get more neighbors moving. And this is The Take. Well, let's get it. Hello and welcome. I'm Chesley McNeil, and this is The Take, where we go above and beyond the headlines and we look at the why and how stories are impacting you and your community. We invite the experts in to give their professional and expertise on certain takes on the top stories around our area. Plus, we try to have just a little bit of fun as well. We're going to start you off with this. Yeah, we're talking about West Nile. New numbers show mosquito traps in Fulton County have now tested positive for West Nile virus. We know 2 of those traps were in Grove Park and Northwest Atlanta, and then Hoyt Smith Recreation Center in Hateville. So far, there has been 1 confirmed human case of West Nile statewide that was reported in Muskogee County. With the affected mosquitoes now being detected in multiple parts of the state and the metro area, how concerned should we be? Let's bring in an expert right now here to answer some of those questions. El McGray, he is a research professional with UGA's College of Agricultural and Environmental Science. Welcome back to the show, my friend.
Great. It's good to be here, Chesley.
All right, let's talk about it, man. How concerned should we be about these cases?
It's certainly something to be aware of. We're right on the front end of it, so it's going to continue to pick up. Activity is going to increase as the rest of the summer progresses. The peak period for West Nile transmission is August 15th to September 15th, so we're right on the front edge of it right now.
Wow, yeah, 53 cases of West Nile in Georgia last year, the highest in years. Are we prepared or better prepared for this season coming, or you think it could get worse?
I wouldn't say we're better prepared. Funding is important. The states and counties need support for their people. So there's testing going on in Georgia, but it's kind of in nodes, in pockets. Certainly Fulton County, Chatham County. There's some work done over in Richmond County as well. So it's kind of nodes of activity. But when these positives tests pop up, should make everyone aware.
Yeah, I mean, it's a scary thought, of course. How do mosquito surveillance teams actually detect West Nile in the traps?
Okay, what's going on is they're collecting the mosquitoes. The southern house mosquito is the primary mosquito that transmits West Nile virus in the southeast. So there's traps that are specifically kind of set to target this species. The female mosquito is collected, and they are ground up and tested molecularly in the labs to see if the virus is present in the mosquitoes.
Now, it's obviously for me, I wouldn't be able to detect that. You mentioned a certain kind of mosquito. For me, they all look the same, right? So how do I know what to avoid, or can I even avoid it?
You should try to avoid all of them. Anything we can do to minimize the mosquito populations is important. We talked about this previously. They require standing water to develop. Now we're drying out a little bit. The southern house mosquito likes to develop into storm drains. So where the water lays in the pipes, when it doesn't rain, that water lays in place underground, and the mosquitoes often develop underground in the storm drain pipes.
Gotcha. How confident are you in the current surveillance system that we have to prevent an outbreak?
The surveillance is going to pick up the activity. That's up to the counties and the districts to do the control to prevent the outbreak. So it's really kind of a 2-part system, detecting when the virus is being transmitted, and then the counties and state people to do control. It's more of a county situation where counties are doing the control. Fulton County contracts, they have a really good group working with them. So it's kind of a up and down. Certain areas do more than others.
We've talked about specific communities. We talked about Hateville, Grove Park, those areas. How worried should they be?
You just need to be aware and try to take preventions. If you're going to be out in the evenings, particularly just before dark, that's a time when you want to use an EPA-approved repellent to try to prevent the mosquito bites. That's the whole thing, is preventing mosquito-borne disease, is preventing that female mosquito from biting you.
And you said DEET was the best way to do that. I remember you were on the show before. You told us DEET was the best way.
There's a number of products that are approved by the Environmental Protection Agency. DEET is kind of the gold standard, been around a very long time, very effective. There's low concentrations, there's high concentrations if you're going to be out for long periods of time. But there's other products. There's oil of lemon eucalyptus is a natural born product, very effective. It's important to read the labels. Parents would apply the repellents to their hands and then rub it on the children. DEET's approved for children as young as 2 months of age, so it's a very safe product.
Yeah. How has protection from mosquitoes evolved over time to, from where we were to where we are now?
That's a good question. It's been going on a long time. They've been identified for over a century now. Eliminating standing water, ditching of marshes has always been a big thing, so that's certainly been part of it. DEET has been around since the 50s, so the repellent aspect is a long proven history. And another thing, light colored, loose fitting clothes. We got all these breathable fabrics now, so that's helpful. It makes you less attractive to the female mosquito. And even box fans. We might have talked about this as well.
Yeah.
If you're going to be on your deck or patio, you don't want to use a repellent, put a box fan on you, you're going to feel better, and it's going to keep. They're not really strong flyers. They're a small, light mosquito insect. So a fan goes a long ways to preventing their activity.
Yeah, blowing them away from you. I like that. I like that. Elmer Gray, thanks so much for your tips and your insight today, my friend.
Thank you, Chesley.
All right,
all the best.
Care. All right. All right, folks, it's going to be a hot and humid out there again today. Yeah, maybe, ripe for mosquitoes. Folks, you got to be careful. You got to take the necessary precautions, not only from mosquitoes, but also from the heat as well. Well, we'll have a few scattered thunderstorms around this afternoon, so that's going to add to some of those piles of water that's around your household that you really need to get rid of when it comes to these mosquitoes. 40% chance for those scattered showers and thunderstorms for this afternoon. We'll do it again for tomorrow. 96 for the high temperature on Tuesday, perhaps the warmest day of the week. Certainly when you factor in the humidity, with that, it's going to feel over 100. We're going to stay in the heat for the rest of the week with a chance each and every afternoon for scattered showers to be around. When we come back, we're going to check in with NBC's Alice Barr to get the latest with what's going on in the nation's capital. We'll be back right after this. President Donald Trump is marking 6 months in office by touting his accomplishments so far, but questions hanging over the White House surrounding the case of infamous sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. Joining us now is NBC Washington correspondent Alice Barr, who's been covering politics for years now. And Alice, the president seems to be doing some sort of a victory lap here. Talk about some of the high points that he's touting.
Yeah, so 6 months into his second term, Chesley, he is posting on social media that he has revived the country in a relatively short period of time. On Friday, he met with Republican senators Friday evening and celebrated what he said were the home runs that his administration has been hitting and is going to keep hitting, among them celebrating passage of that massive tax and spending bill, including extending the Trump tax cuts, which was a big campaign promise that he made. And then also pointing to a drop in migrant crossings at the southern border, along with those controversial deportations we've been seeing across the country. And on tariffs, he's talking about the revenue that has been brought in by imposing tariffs on trading partners around the world. Though there's also the pinch on U.S. businesses who've been paying more in import taxes to bring in goods and materials and are bracing for sweeping reciprocal tariffs set to hit on August 1st if other countries don't reach deals before then.
Gotcha. All right, now on to the Epstein case. It seems like the Republican infighting is not going away anytime soon here.
Yeah, President Trump is trying to move past this and press ahead with this agenda and, again, point to all of these things that he sees as big wins during the 6 months so far. But we are still hearing from Republican members of Congress, as well as certainly Democrats, members of both parties, who are pushing for more transparency, more of the Epstein files, the documents from the case of that infamous sex offender to be released. And President Trump claimed on social media that his poll numbers have gone up among Republicans since what he calls the Epstein hoax, though new CBS polling shows his overall approval rating declining since February. It showed Republicans almost evenly divided on handling of the Epstein files, and that 89% of those surveyed say that the Justice Department should release all of its Epstein information. they have said, the Justice Department and the FBI have said that they are not going to release anything further, and that what they have in their possession backs up what they've been saying, that Epstein committed suicide in a jail cell, and that there is no incriminating client list. That has been the big thing that folks have been wondering about. After a request from President Trump, the DOJ has asked for grand jury transcripts to be unsealed. So we're waiting for that process to play out at this point, Chesley.
Gotcha. Alice, we're also hearing the calls for one of Epstein's closest associates, who's also been convicted, to testify before Congress. What's the latest there?
Yeah, we're talking about Ghislaine Maxwell here. She was a one-time girlfriend of Jeffrey Epstein. She was convicted of trying to recruit underage girls for Epstein to then abuse. And it is worth just underscoring how very serious the charges are in this case, and not letting the victims get lost of what happened in this Epstein case that has become so politicized now. But Maxwell is serving a 20-year prison sentence, and she has said that she wants immunity to speak on Capitol Hill. And so now there are lawmakers that are saying they want to see her come testify before Congress. We heard, in fact, from former Epstein lawyer Alan Dershowitz, who says that we're not going to get a whole lot more through the grand jury transcripts, but he called Maxwell the Rosetta Stone and said that she knows everything. She arranged every single trip with everybody and would know, anything that people might be looking for. But the fact that she's appealing that 20-year prison sentence makes it a little more difficult to see her pathway to testifying on Capitol Hill. Chesley.
Gotcha. Alice Barr, thanks so much for everything. Appreciate it. All right. Numbers are showing that it's getting harder to find jobs. We're going to discuss that right after the break. All right, welcome back to the show. If you're having trouble trying to find your dream job, well, you're not alone. New data is showing a job market which hasn't struggled like this since the pandemic. There were an estimated 227,000 first-time applicants for unemployment insurance made during the week that ended on July 5th. That's at a 7-week low and down 5,000 claims from the prior week. Now, meanwhile, the number of continuing claims rose by 10,000 up to nearly 2 million. That's the highest total since November of 2021. Employers added roughly 147,000 jobs in June, stronger than expected, but almost all of that was in the healthcare industry and also state and local government. Here to explain why this is so rough and to maybe offer some ways to help us out here is Professor Thomas Smith from Emory University. Professor Smith, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me on. I appreciate it.
All right, I know you heard those figures. I know you know all about it. What does this tell us about our job market right now?
So Atlanta and Georgia, we're experiencing a little bit of some stickiness and tightness in the job market. I know you guys reported that we hit 5 million jobs in Georgia just last week. So there was some really good news with respect to the number of jobs that were out there. But we're definitely seeing some companies slowing down in their hiring. And I think that they're doing this because there's a lot of uncertainty about how new White House policies or White House policies that were rolled out in April might be impacting their profitability.
Are we officially out of the great resignation phase and moving into the harder to get hired type of economy?
Well, it's a great question. So the Great Resignation was coined by another economist, and that sort of took place in 2022, 2023. And I think people were sort of quiet quitting in there as well, like maybe going to work, but not actually officially quitting. Yeah, I think that we've moved past some of those issues. And now we're moving to, let's say, a new part of the economy where firms are hesitant to add to their wages, to their payroll, because they're not sure how new policies are going to roll out, when they're going to roll out, and what the impact of those policies are going to be on them. And so a lot of firms are in the let's wait and see mode.
Yeah, you mentioned the uncertainty of policies. You think tariffs and global uncertainty has a role in this as well?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't want to say this is just tariffs, but because everybody else is always, tariffs. But the truth is that, yeah, those are the big policies that are coming out. The tariffs have had this sort of fit and start rollout, and firms don't know what to make of it because they don't know how it's going to impact them yet. So, yeah, this is the big issue And it's even if a company doesn't think it's going to be directly impacted by tariffs, other companies in their economy, in their supply chain, likely will. And so, these organizations have to realize or have to figure out exactly how do these tariffs figure into their bottom line.
Yeah. Speaking of the organizations, are we doing enough to help people who are stuck in these long-term unemployment stretches?
Well, that's a good question too. So I think that if somebody gets a job, they'll say, "Wow, thank you very much for the resources that were available." But for people who are still stuck, probably they're saying, "No, there aren't enough resources for me that are out there." There are community resources, and then there's plenty of job postings. It's whether or not these companies are actually pulling the trigger and hiring individuals. And so, yeah, people always need more resources, but they're hard to come by.
All right, talk to us who are, stuck in this pattern right now of unemployment. What's some of the tips or things we can do to try to get employed or survive during this period?
Yeah, well, I would, go over your CV quite extensively and make sure that you don't have any kind of errors in there. If you have gaps, make sure that you are able to account for those gaps. I mean, of course, having gaps in your CV is much more acceptable since the pandemic, but make sure that you've got reasons if somebody asks you. And then also be really clear about what it is that you want and apply for jobs that make sense. So, if you really don't want to be, a dog groomer or something like this, like don't apply for dog grooming jobs. And this is one of the things that I do hear from companies over and over again is that it's becoming more difficult to sift through resumes because people can, at a click of a button, like send their resumes all over the place. And so I know HR managers are having a hard time sifting through stuff because they have people who are applying for jobs who are clearly not able to do the jobs they're applying for.
Gotcha. All right, Professor Thomas Smith, thanks so much for joining us. Thanks so much for your insight as well.
No, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
All right, take care. Well, a Georgia Congresswoman wants to eliminate capital gains tax for home sales in our state. We're going to discuss that right after the break. Stay with us. Welcome back to the show. Georgia Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene has introduced a bill which would eliminate federal capital gains tax on the sale of a primary residence, regardless of profit size. The argument is to unlock housing inventory, support seniors, and better reflect today's home values. Here to explain the legislation is our financial expert and friend of the show, Andrew Pujols. Welcome back to the show, my friend.
Morning, Chesley.
All right, let's start off with your take on this. Do you think eliminating the capital gains tax would actually help out first-time home buyers in the long run?
Possibly to some extent, right? We got to understand here that currently, if you have a home as a principal residence and you decide to sell it, if you're a married couple, then you get a $500,000 exclusion from capital gains. If you're a single taxpayer having home ownership, then you get a $250,000 exclusion. So where I see the benefit is for someone who has a house, perhaps has had the house for decades, has a lot of built up value in excess of either the 250 or the $500,000, depending if they're a single taxpayer or a married couple, right? Mm-hmm. But if you're within that 250 or the $500,000 current exclusion, it's going to make no difference to you. So while it sounds appealing to say, hey, we're going to get rid of capital gains and your principal residence, you may have zero impact. But yes, I do see where potentially it may allow those who have more capital gains built up to be able to sell tax-free, to create some inventory. Particularly, I think the target, the strategy here by Congresswoman Greene's bill, if it passes, is to be able to effectively get the baby boomers who are sitting on, possibly in some cases multiple properties for decades and decades to be able to unload those tax-free.
Yeah. Do you think it would intentionally drive up prices higher?
Possibly. Look, if it's a combination of more inventory and lower interest rates, as President Trump wants, that could certainly drive up prices even higher to where it becomes unaffordable home ownership for someone who is buying basically at this point in time.
Yeah. All right. So here's a quote from Representative Greene on her House bill. She says, homeowners who have lived in their homes for decades, especially seniors in places where values have surged, shouldn't be forced to stay put because of IRS penalties. My bill unlocks the equality, helps fix the housing shortage and supports long-term financial security for American families. What kind of ripple effect do you think this will have on property tax planning, estate transfers, long-term transfer, financial advising here in Georgia?
I mean, listen, tax professionals, estate attorneys, I mean, we'd have our hands full if this bill passes, right? There's so many different demographics between seniors, meaning the baby boomers who are sitting on potentially properties with a lot of equity, or even others. I mean, there's certain situations, I've seen situations, Chesley, where someone buys for example, $1 million home is probably not your average, homeowner, but $1 million home and has sat on it for a number of years and now has $1 million in equity. That person would benefit. But again, it just really depends. I don't honestly see this bill going through exactly as it is. Maybe it will. We'll see, right? But I think the sales pitch, sort of from a political perspective, sounds great to folks all across the country, not only here in Atlanta and throughout our state, but overall. Most people, I would say, probably may not be impacted unless you've been super, super lucky and have bought a house recently that has gotten, an enormous amount of equity increase, or you've again held that property for decades and now you have so much equity that you are refusing to sell it because you don't want to pay the capital gains taxes. As far as it being an IRS penalty, it's not an IRS penalty. Congress created this law, decades ago, so it's just a matter of wording to make it sound nice. But I understand what the Congresswoman is saying.
Gotcha. Say it passes. Are people rushing to sell their homes now, you think?
It just depends, right? As I would tell my clients who come to me and say, hey, listen, Andrew, I want to be able to sell now. I can sell capital gains free. The question is, what will you do with that money? Because parking that money in the bank with the inflation and the continued inflation we'll have in life and just the erosion of the dollar is not a wise strategy. So you've got to be able to have that money and have a strategy for it. If you're a senior, if you're just older, retired, and you need that money to live on, for example, that's one possibility. But just to sell, because you can now sell tax-free and park that money and give it to a bank for 1 or 2% interest rate, I don't think that would be the wisest strategy. But overall, look, everyone's going to have a different strategy and a different notion on why they should or shouldn't sell.
That's why we depend on you, my friend. Andrew Poole. So, ladies and gentlemen, with all the knowledge you need, call him if you need him, folks. Thanks so much, Andrew.
Definitely, man. Have a great day.
All right, take care. The city of Atlanta could be extending their hike trails to connect more neighborhoods. Aisha Howard is going to break it all down for us coming up. A trail plan more than 500 miles long might sound like something in a hiking fantasy, but it's becoming a reality right here in Atlanta. From connecting neighborhoods to boasting mental health, it isn't just about recreation. It's about reimagining how we move, live, and connect. 11Alive's Aisha Howard has been following this story. And Aisha, this goes way beyond the Beltline, huh?
Yeah, Chesley, you think about places that have like good hiking, and typically in different big cities, there's one place that's known. LA, it's going to be Runyon Canyon. Around here, we either say the Beltline or Stone Mountain. Well, now this plan here in the city is to make hiking and trails available to everyone. And so where they end, they wanted to pick back up in communities. The ultimate goal here in this master plan is for these trails to be within 10 minutes of a drive, a walk, or even a wheelchair ride to every single resident in Atlanta.
Wow. We're talking about 535 miles. It's a huge number. Try to paint a picture for us of how transformational this could be for the everyday Atlantan.
Well, so transformational, you got to take it bit by bit, right? So the first part of the plan is going to be 35 miles. So this is a whole 30-year plan. That 35-mile plan, that's going to take at least 10 years to accomplish. And this is really for everyday people who just don't have access. You may have an interest in getting out and going for a walk, but remember a couple of weeks ago, we did a story about Atlanta not being walkable, it being a city that required people to just really have a vehicle. You can't just get out and walk around, at least safely anyway, right? And so it's going to be transformational in just how we use and utilize our city, and also the health and fitness aspect, mental health as well, getting outside, getting that natural vitamin D, getting your body moving. And so you're going to see lower obesity rates, lower, mental health crises impacting our community. So it really is a wide scale plan here.
Is that what the leaders are saying about the benefits of this investment in the long run? Thinking the overall health of Atlantis will be better? What else are they saying?
Yeah, it pays off in multiple ways because think about it. If you have people who say, I can just do this free activity in my community, I don't have to worry about being segmented based on socioeconomic status or race or gender, because one person in the story talks about how hiking, it felt really lonely, and how he saw a fellow black woman on a trail and she just looked really uncomfortable, like she didn't belong there. And so he started the Black Hiking Club around Atlanta. It's grown from 12 to 100 members. So it also introduces a new physical activity to a demographic that may feel like it's less accessible. You know, once you get away from basketball and football, the diversity of sports gets smaller and smaller and smaller. So this introduces a new layer to a physical activity.
Is that where we're going now? You mentioned mental health, you mentioned loneliness epidemic and so forth. Is city officials connecting the dots on infrastructure, creating or helping to alleviate some of these problems?
Yeah, because you have to use what you have, right, to keep progressing. And so what do we have? All this space and all this nature. And we have some of the trails that have already started, but there's so much more that you can do. And they look different. You know, some are super shaded and a lot of trees, and some just feel like you're walking right through the city. So especially in districts 10, 11, and 12, those neighborhoods are cut off. So you have these people who essentially feel like they're on an island and they don't have connectivity. And also the big focus, Chesley, is going to be on the areas where the MARTA stops. So you just kind of block off these communities, so now you can pick it up via a trail.
I would imagine most residents feel happy about this particular program or what's about to take place here. But are there any surprises from residents about what's being done?
Well, this was a surprise that the Parks and Recreation Department said, wait a minute, you guys want trails? They did a study and they let, community give input. And out of all the residents, they came up with trails and walkability being the #1 thing that they were looking for in their community. A lot of people thought that it was going to be bike lanes, and they said, no, we want to get out on foot and we want to be able to, to do that safely and to do it everywhere around the city. You don't have to drive. And that's the thing, too. They don't want driving to get to a trail to be mandatory, because then what happens, Chesley? You cut off the demographic of people that don't have a car.
Right.
So it makes it way more inclusive.
Man, you mentioned this as being a 30-year vision, right? It's a long time, obviously. What are some of the hurdles right now that they have to get over to make this happen? Time
and money. Right? You have to fund the project. So even for that first 35 miles that they're talking about, that's going to be over $250 million. So the money has to continue to come for the project to progress. And so that's why some of the people in the hiking community, they're like, it sounds good, but can you see it through? Is the check gonna clear to make this whole thing come into fruition? But hey, we hope to be around for the next 30 years, so we'll see how it all plays out.
Yeah, you and I will be walking on it, I think, ourselves, yes. Get all the way up to our neighborhood.
All right, we'd love to see it.
Thanks a lot, Irish, appreciate it. All right, take a look. The bug on the Midtown camera. He's a resident. It's okay, folks. It's okay. Beautiful start to the day. Plenty of sunshine around. We'll have that sunshine around, and temperatures will be in the low 90s today, but it's going to feel like the upper 90s. Take the necessary precautions and stay cool today, folks. Well, they served our country, and now they're coming back to civilian life. That's why one Metro Atlanta-based nonprofit is working to make the adjustment as smooth as possible for members of the military. Romaine Bird joins us now. He is the Georgia Program Manager for Hire Heroes USA. He also served in the U.S. Army and the Georgia Army National Guard. Romaine, welcome to the show, and thank you for your service.
Hey, sir. Good morning. Thank you very much.
All right. For someone just hearing about Hire Heroes USA for the first time, how exactly do you help veterans readjust?
Man, so Hire Heroes USA has been around for about 20 years now. And what we do is we provide a free personalized service to help veterans and military spouses with their job search. So if it's just a regular resume writing, job coaching, mentorship, anything that's going to help that veteran with their employment search, we're here to take that challenge on.
Yeah. You've made that transition, right? You lived through the military life, the civilian life yourself. What surprised you most about that journey, and how does that work help to shape the work that you're doing today?
So I transitioned from the military back in 2018 after about 23 years of service. And what I found that, what I did in the military may not necessarily translate over to the civilian sector. And most people didn't understand what is that we did, because we use a lot of acronyms and just stuff a lot of people don't understand. So we provide a service here at Hire Heroes USA that break down those barriers, as well as take your military experience, put it in a format that we just know is proven through an applicant tracking system. That way, an employer understands what it is that you do. Also, thanks to the officer, Mr. John Ossoff, Senator Ossoff, I'm sorry, we've allowed to expand our footprint throughout the state to continue to help those veterans with their employment search.
Yeah. You're based right here in Alpharetta. What kind of demands have
Yes,
you been
sir.
seeing from veterans in Metro Atlanta?
So there are about, one thing about Metro Atlanta, there's about 200, as a lower population, but there's about 200,000 veterans that, transition from the military annually. A lot of them don't have employment or have no idea how to look for employment. So we do a great job out of breaking down that barrier, expanding our employment service to help those veterans with their job search.
Yeah, we hear a lot about workforce gaps like tech and logistics, skills trade. Do you think veterans are still an underserved pipeline for those roles?
I don't think they're underserved. I just think there's a lot of information about veterans, excuse me, a lot of information that veterans offer that a lot of companies don't understand. So having service like High Heroes USA to translate those skills and that verbiage to help employees understand it is what we do.
Yeah. You're also helping not only veterans, but you're also helping military spouses. Describe
Yes,
how
sir.
you do that.
So we offer a service. We actually have a military spouses team. So, understanding that when a military veteran transition or move throughout the state or the world, that military spouse is leaving with them as well. So we have a team that is designated, designed to help that military spouse with breaking down that barrier to find employment.
Yeah. Talk to me about the moment that veterans finally get the confidence, they turn it around during your coaching and they say, man, I can do this. How was that? Is that rewarding for you?
Oh, yeah. Yes, sir. So that service we offer is personalized. So we're there from the moment that they begin their job search to the day that they're signing an offer letter. So we're their main cheerleader. We don't walk them through the whole process. And we celebrate with them as soon as they sign their job offer. We're celebrating with them as well. So
There you go. All right, Romaine Bird, thanks so much for joining us. Again, thank you for your service.
I appreciate your time. Thank you.
All right, take care.
Yes, sir.
Crypto could be getting a boost. Maribel Aber joins us from CNN to give us the very latest. Stay right there, folks. You want to hear this. Welcome back to the show. The countdown is on and your wallet may be feeling it. CNN's Maribel Aber joins us now from the NASDAQ market site in New York. Good morning to you, Maribel. And we're talking about tariffs here, complete with a specific date and some serious ripple effects.
Good morning, Chesley. August 1st is a, quote, hard deadline for President Trump's tariffs to kick in. That's according to Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick. Now, he told CBS News that while the deadline is firm, there's nothing stopping countries from talking to the U.S. after the first of the month. Lutnick added that some smaller countries would have a baseline tariff rate of 10%. Those will include nations in Latin America, the Caribbean, and many in Africa. As for the bigger economies, Lutnick said they'll, quote, either open themselves up for or they'll pay a fair tariff to America. Chesley.
Wow. All right. Looks like President Trump just gave crypto its biggest boost yet, huh?
President Trump has signed the first major federal cryptocurrency bill into law, Chesley, called the Genius Act. The legislation outlines regulations for stable coins. Now, those are currencies tied to the value of an asset like the U.S. dollar or commodities such as gold. The Genius Act makes it clear for banks and other entities to issue stable coins. So that's expected to increase public trust in the assets and help grow the cryptocurrency industry overall. That increased acceptance of crypto helped push the asset up in value. The overall market valuation of cryptocurrencies hit a record $4 trillion soon after the vote on the legislation. Chesley, think of it sort of like building guardrails while the car is already on the highway. Crypto's moving fast, and lawmakers are finally trying to catch up.
I see. All right. We understand that Alaska Airlines is back up and running after an IT outage?
Yeah, Alaska Airlines resumed flying this morning after it grounded all flights late last night. The airline requested a temporary system-wide ground stop due to an IT issue. Now, the outage affected the airline's overall systems, and planes were grounded for a few hours. Alaska Airlines says the ground stop has now been lifted and its operations have resumed, but the airline warns there may be delays this morning as it repositions its planes and flight crews. No word just yet on how much the ground stop impacted various airports or what caused the IT issues. Chesley, it's the second major IT outage in 15 months, and a stark reminder of how tech glitches can upend travel coast to coast.
Yeah, man, don't want to hear that. Don't want to hear that. All right. Everybody's getting into these foldable phones, and I understand that Apple is talking about one maybe. What's up with that?
Apple's look to sets out a rollout of its first foldable iPhone, Chesley. Various online reports say the phone could be introduced in the second half of next year. Now get this, the price point is expected to be in the range of $1,800 to as much as $2,500. Apple is reportedly set to have a limited production of the foldable at first due to the complexity of the device as well as the high price point. Now, the book-like phone is expected to be called the iPhone Fold. It's going to compete with Samsung's Galaxy Z Fold models. The low end of that price point would fit in with the other foldables. The Galaxy Z Fold 7 runs about $2,000. The Pixel 9 Pro Fold is only slightly cheaper at $1,800. But Chesley, the year was 1996, and I was all about my Motorola StarTAC, and I could barely afford it at like $1,000.
That's what I'm talking about. Yeah, it seemed like the foldable phones are like those flip phones, but at a higher price point. But I guess you said it's like a book, right? It opens up like a book.
It's kind of like a book, but we're going to have to finance the book, Chesley.
How about that? You know, and the young folks will want it. And so I don't know if you have any young folks at home, but they're going to ask you for it, Maribel.
No. The old folks will keep what they have.
I hear you. I'm with you. Thanks a lot, Maribel. Really appreciate it. We'll see you again tomorrow. All right.
You got it.
Man, the old fold-up phone. Costs you a lot now. Don't go anywhere, folks. When we come back, we're going to hear how Georgia Tech students are helping the unhoused with a brand new app. Speaking of fold-up phones. We're back right after this. Well, a group of students at Georgia Tech just turned a classroom project into a lifeline, literally. They developed a new app, a web app, to help people without a home find shelter, food, medical care, and more. And it's now being put to use in DeKalb County. Here to tell us more is Vijay Shastri, one of the students behind the project. Vijay, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
All right. What was the first conversation or the moment that you realized that this was more than just a class project?
So, when I personally realized that this was really something that could actually help people was around the middle of our first semester working on it, when we interviewed a few of our clients' unhoused patrons to understand exactly what challenges they faced.
Mm-hmm.
And something we realized was that they don't have phones like we originally thought,
Mm-hmm.
or rather, they don't have phones at the frequency we originally thought. And the main thing that they were going to be using this on was going to be library computers.
And so your team came up. How did you come up with a way to help out the unhoused population? Why did you guys target them?
So this was actually originally an idea from our client, Mr. Gregory Wright of Frontline Response to CAB.
Mm-hmm.
The original way in which he kept in contact with his unhoused patrons was a GroupMe chat. And the issue there was that a lot of information was coming through with no way to know if it was the most recent or no way to filter. And what his idea was to have a centralized location for all of this information where you could tell that it was the most recent.
Wow. So how does your app work?
So the way it works is that when you load it up, you'll see a couple of icons.
Mm-hmm.
We really did work a lot on the visual design to ensure that it would be as simple to use as possible. And when you click on one of the icons, it will bring up a page that there's an announcements page that shows you recent announcements. There's community meetings to show you a calendar of recent events in the DeKalb County area. And of course, there are a variety of location pages where you can put in a central location as well as a distance and sort and filter locations of various types, including places to stay warm in the winter or cool in the summer.
Yeah.
Places to get shelter, food, transportation.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And it seems to be working, right? Are you pleased?
Of course. I never thought I could have this much impact.
Yeah, well, you're doing it. I mean, you're doing it, man. What has it been like to be seeing that being used in the real world?
It's been gratifying to see.
Do you see it growing? Do you see it, right now you have it in DeKalb County. Do you see it growing in other metro Atlanta counties, maybe even across the United States?
So when we originally conceived of it, in order to ensure that we could complete it in the time allotted, we did focus on the DeKalb County area, but I see no reason it couldn't be expanded to work in the greater Atlanta area.
How has this project influenced your thinking about solving other social issues?
It's really put me more in mind of how the internet and software can assist people.
All right. VJ, thanks so much, man, for your work. I mean, this is winding up being something very helpful for our community. Keep up the good work, my friend, and thank your team for me as well.
I will.
All right. Thanks a lot, VJ. Really appreciate it. All right, folks, when we come back, I'll have a final check of your forecast plus my final take right after this. All right, we're taking a look at our forecast for today, and boy, it's going to be a hot one out there. Take a look at the temperatures here. Temperatures will be in the 90s. You're talking about 93 degrees for a forecast high in the metro area. When you factor in the humidity with that, it's going to feel like, of course, the upper 90s. You got some 80s up towards Blairsville and over toward Carrollton today, but they will be hot as well. We'll feel like the low 90s out there. And then look over toward the east, 96 for the high temperature in Athens and over toward Edenton. When you factor in humidity, of course, that's going to be above 100 there. And you look at that pink area there, that is where we could see a heat index above 105 today. And because of that, we have a heat advisory in this particular area. You can see Athens, Edenton down through Macon over toward Augusta is where you have the orange highlighted counties there. That is where we can see that heat index rise above, again, 105, maybe up to 108 today. And so the advisory will last until 8 o'clock tonight. Even outside of the advised area, you're still looking at heat issues. And so you don't want to suffer from heat illness today, folks. So you have to be very smart, play it smart, get inside, take the breaks, drink plenty of fluid, of course, and wear light colored clothing if you have to be outside today. We're looking at not a whole lot happening now. You see a few showers moving into our far northern counties. We are looking at a general threat for thunderstorms, so we're not looking at much in the way of any severe weather, although one or two of those storms could be on the strong side. By tomorrow, we'll be looking at a marginal risk for severe weather from Atlanta southward is when you'll find that level 1 threat. It's a level 1 out of a possible 5. That will mean marginal risk means that we could see isolated strong to severe thunderstorms around. We're going to hold on to this threat each and every day. 40% chance today, 40% chance again on Tuesday. By Wednesday, we're down to a 30% chance for the rain to be around. We'll hold on to that for Thursday, and then by Friday, we're looking at a 40% chance for the rain to be in our area. So you'll see these scattered showers, thunderstorms popping up in the forecast area. Those thunderstorms should be ending by about 9 o'clock. We'll do it again for tomorrow with a 40% chance for that rain to be around. Again, we could be seeing strong to severe thunderstorms by the time we get to Tuesday. By Wednesday, that starts to settle down just a little bit. You can see where the drier air starts to work into our forecast area. So we're looking at temperatures cooling down just a little bit, but still in the 90s. So the heat wave will continue. All right, time for my final take. There is a new challenge for social media users, and I got to say, I like it. In fact, I love it. It's called the Flip Phone Summer, where Gen Zers are putting away their smartphones and buying basic flip phones with basic communication. Those partaking in the challenge are calling it good for detoxing from phones that take a lot of their attention and ring constantly through the day. In fact, one lady saying the challenge has been good for her. She's been listening to more nature. Wow. Others claim it has been good for them getting better sleep. All kinds of positive comments about it, but when they asked about whether they would stay with the switch, they said no. They're going back as soon as the challenge is over. Well, so much for hearing nature and connecting with what's around you. Do more of it, folks. Let me challenge you to keep it up, okay? You got the basic needs on a flip phone. You can even play a couple of old games even, you know? But stay with it. Talk to me. Talk to me. Thanks for joining us, folks. Have a great day and try to encourage someone to go and use their flip phones constantly.